You've seen the debates online, special forces vs. MMA in a street fight. Both sides argue from their own cages. Here's what matters. The rules change everything, and the White Lotus system maps that difference. Let's break down the real mechanics. Start with the guard. An MMA fighter's guard is sport-optimized, built to protect against strikes and set up submissions within the unified rules. It works in the cage. On the street, that same guard leaves your hips exposed and your eyes locked on one threat. The Special Forces operator uses a different structure. Their guard creates space for a weapon draw or a decisive counter. It prioritizes survival over scoring. In White Lotus, we teach the stand-up guard at BSD, protecting the head and torso while maintaining forward pressure. You learn to parry not just for combinations, but to control distance and read the environment. The difference is intent. Sport asks, how do I win? Survival asks, how do I end this and get away? Your guard must answer the second question first. An MMA fighter's jab cross hook is polished through thousands of rounds. The mechanics are sound, but they rely on rhythm and range that assume a single opponent and a padded floor. On concrete, that rhythm breaks. The operator's striking is different, short, economical, aimed at soft targets, eyes, throat, groin. You don't need full extension when a palm strike to the chin ends the fight. In White Lotus, you practice striking from the guard using short-range punches and elbows that don't require hip rotation. This is ISD, adapting your biomechanics to compromised footing, restrictive clothing, low light. Power comes from the core and shoulders, not the floor. You train to generate force without perfect stance. That's the difference between a sport technique and a survival skill. Grappling exposes the deepest divide. MMA fighters spend hours on guard pulls and submissions. Pulling guard on concrete is a catastrophic decision. The operator trains to avoid the ground entirely. In White Lotus, throwing is a BSD skill, not for points, but to control the opponent's descent and immediately follow with a decisive strike or disengagement. You learn a throw based on off-balancing and leg reaping, using the opponent's forward momentum against them. It doesn't require perfect grip or hip position. It works under stress. The goal is never to stay on the ground. It's to break contact and create an advantage. You practice this throw from multiple angles with different grips so it becomes instinctive. In a street fight, the ground is not your friend. It's a trap. The training methods differ as much as the techniques. MMA fighters use periodized training, sparring rounds that simulate competition. They develop pattern recognition for sport-specific threats, the level change, the hip escape. Operators use scenario-based training with stress inoculation through controlled chaos. They develop threat recognition for lethal encounters, the hand moving to a waistband, the sudden closing of distance. In White Lotus, we build from BSD to ISD to ASD. BSD establishes the motor patterns. ISD refines them under pressure with environmental factors. ASD integrates everything into fluid, adaptive responses. You run stress scenarios with multiple attackers, simulated weapons, and low visibility. This is where you learn to think under fire. Sport training builds athletes. Combatives training builds survivors. The reality of a street fight is that it begins before the first strike. There's no weigh-in, no stare-down, no referee. The operator's pre-engagement assessment, distance, cover, exit routes, threat identification is the only preparation. White Lotus teaches that guarding starts in the mind. At BSD, you practice situational awareness drills, scanning, threat assessment, decision-making under pressure. You learn to parry not just physical strikes, but psychological ones, the verbal provocation designed to draw you into a disadvantageous position. You train to recognize the pre-attack indicators, the clenched fist, the shifting weight, the eyes darting. This is the true first line of defense. It's not about being paranoid, it's about being prepared. The fight is won or lost before the first blow. In the cage, you know the rules. No eye gouging, no groin strikes, no small joint manipulation. On the street, those rules vanish. The operator trains to end the threat quickly, using whatever is necessary. The MMA fighter's sport-optimized techniques, the rear naked choke, the armbar, require time and position that you may not have when the opponent's friend is approaching. White Lotus teaches you to use the environment, a wall to brace against, a bottle to grab, the pavement itself. You learn to strike to the eyes and throat, to bite, to use your head as a weapon. This isn't about being brutal for its own sake. It's about survival. You must be willing to do what the sport fighter won't, because the street doesn't care about your record. The difference between the Special Forces operator and the MMA fighter isn't physical, it's mental. The operator is trained to make decisions under extreme stress, to act without hesitation, to prioritize mission over ego. The MMA fighter is trained to compete, to win within a system. In White Lotus, we build this mindset through progressive scenario training. You start with simple drills, one attacker, clear threat. You add variables, multiple attackers, weapons, low light, uneven ground. You learn to make split-second decisions and commit to them. This is the ASD level where skills become instinct. You don't think about the technique, you just execute. The goal is to develop a calm, focused mind that can assess and act in seconds. That's the true combative's advantage. So who wins? The one who trains for the reality of the street. The MMA fighter has incredible skills, but they're designed for the cage. The operator has survival skills, but they're designed for combat. The White Lotus system bridges the gap. You don't have to choose between sport and survival. You train BSD for foundation, ISD for adaptation, ASD for integration. You practice situational awareness, environment use, and decisive action. You learn to guard your mind before your body. This is the path to being prepared for whatever comes. Start with the basics, build your skills, and always train with intent. The street is the ultimate test, and you can pass it. Train with intent, not just repetition. The street rewards those who adapt. Start with your guard, your awareness, and your mindset. That's the White Lotus way.